All right, let's take a look at the last section of this chapter, which deals with taxonomy. All right, so we're starting off with tunicates. Now, tunicates are filter-feeding marine animals. And so this is a tunicate, and if it doesn't look like any other kind of chordate, it's because it doesn't look like any other chordate. Its larvae are free swimming, and those larvae, so this is showing the larva over here, has all the hallmarks of a chordate. All right, the adults really don't, but the larvae do. Now let's look at lancelets. So if you took this larvae and you just made it a free living organism, it doesn't become this, that's essentially what a lancelet is. So these are filter feeding marine animals. They usually typically live in the substrate. They have no eyes, no head, they have no brain up there. So the next picture shows what this is. So they do have a nerve cord there, so they respond by reflexes. All right. So next are the are vertebrates. So this is vertebrates are everything that have a vertebral column. So all these guys here. So we're starting off with the jawless fishes. All right. So they have a tail which moves them through the water, and they're going to feed by attaching mouth parts to their prey. So this is a mouth part, but there's no jaw. It's like a suction cup, or kind of like a plunger almost in it, the way they use it here. So this is a hagfish. Hagfish are found at the bottom of the oceans, and they feed on dead animals that fall down to the bottom of the oceans. Next are lamprey. So this is a lamprey here. These guys are parasitic on bony fish. So they'll come up to another fish, grab onto its side, and then they'll tear away at the flesh and basically suck the blood out of them. All right. Next are jawed fish and tetrapods. Now, jaws, the evolution of jaws allowed for the seizing and chewing of prey. So this was a pretty advantageous thing. So first, here's class Chondrichthyes. Chondro means cartilage, and ichthyes refers to fish. So these are the cartilaginous fish. So these are sharks, skates, and rays. So this is looking at a stingray. All right. So here their skeleton is made of cartilage. That's why they're cartilaginous fish. All right. So moving on. So this is showing a manta ray there. Now we're going to go to the jawed fishes. All right. Yeah, we're still with jawed fishes. Anyway, this is class Osteichthyes. So osteo refers to bone. So these are the bony fish. So the first one is what you typically think about with fish. These are the rayed fin fishes. So this is most fish. Here they have hard rays within their fins. All right, so most of the fish you can think of, trout, bluegill, catfish, and so on, are these ray fin fishes. All right. Next are lobe fin fishes. So these are the lungfish and coelacanth. They actually have flesh in their fins. They have bone in their fins. So not just these bony rays. The limbs of the tetrapods evolved from these lobe fin fishes. So this is showing like the movement onto land here. So these early fish had to have lungs, so lungfish, and then they were lobe fin, which eventually became the limbs. All right, so let's move on here to class Amphibia. So these are the amphibians. These are the frogs, toads, and salamanders. All right. So this is showing their life cycle a little bit here. So they lay eggs in and have a larval stage in water. Most adults live on land, but they don't always have to. So this is showing the larval stage there. Well, that's egg, late egg into larva. Here's a larval stage of tadpoles there. Here's showing a spotted salamander. Oh, this is a Caecilian, another type of amphibian. It is sort of like a legless salamander there. Here is one of these poison dart frogs, and its skin stays so moist it keeps the tadpoles with it. All right, so let's move on to class Reptilia, the reptiles. These are the turtles, snakes, lizards, and crocodiles. And so they lay an amniotic egg. So the amniotic egg protects the egg in embryonic development, and it also has an energy source, which is the yolk sac. And this allowed organisms to start moving away from water. So amphibians still have to lay their eggs in water in a very moist environment. Reptiles don't have to do that. All right. These guys are ectothermic. So this is an animal that warms itself mainly by absorbing heat from its surrounding environment. All right. And their skin is covered in scales. So this is showing a lizard here. This is showing a leatherback sea turtle. You can see how big they are. You can see this guy behind it. This is showing a bull snake, also known as a gopher snake, laying eggs. Here's a chameleon. Here's another lizard. Here is a crocodile. All right, so let's move on to class Aves, which are the birds. These guys also lay an amniotic egg, although they have a hard shell versus the reptiles, which kind of have a leathery shell. These guys are endothermic. So endothermic, their body temperature is maintained by heat generated by metabolism. And their skin is covered by feathers, and that feathers there are for insulation and also for flight, also for coloration as well. So, birds evolved from dinosaurs, and a lot of dinosaurs show characteristics that modern birds have, being by feathered, have hollow bones, and so forth. So this is showing an albatross here. Here's an emu. All right, so let's move on to mammals. So mammals are also endothermic, like birds. They have hair. Now, hair is used for insulation, also coloration as well. Mammals have mammary glands, so they're going to produce milk that nourishes their developing young. So 3 different groups of mammals. One are monotremes. So monotremes are the egg-laying mammals. And there's only 5 species of these guys. So there are 4 species of spiny anteaters. And then we have the duck-billed platypus, which is the 5th one. They are amniotes. They lay eggs. They produce milk for their offspring. These guys are only found in Australia and New Guinea, which is an island just north of Australia. Next are marsupials. So marsupials are the pouched mammals. So these are the kangaroos, koalas, wombats, and possums. They are amniotes, but are viviparous, meaning that they give birth. But they give birth to an embryo, so they have a short gestation or pregnancy. So they give birth to an embryo, and that embryo climbs into the pouch where the nipples are, and then they complete their development there. All right. Lastly are placental mammals. Placental mammals are amniotes and viviparous, but they have a long gestation, and they give birth to a developed young. And what we see with amniotes, so look at that. Isn't that a cute little, duck-billed platypus? Anyway, so amniotes here, so here's the placenta on there. That's the amnion right there. The placenta's on the ground. This is a structure in which nutrients, gases, and waste are exchanged between the mother and the offspring. So placental mammals have been outcompeted all the other types of organisms, other mammals on the planet. The only I should say mammals, the only marsupial that we have in North America is the opossum.